Woodland Park Ambulance, we were one of the first companies to ever go live with ESO solutions back in the 2011, beginning of 12. So I've been an end user for about 7-8 years now. I've been in EMS for about 23 years. Stepped off the clinical side of things a couple of years ago, and now teach for ESO, travel around the country teaching for them. And then I also teach for UC Health out of Colorado Springs. Their EMT and paramedic classes. You guys, it'll take about an hour and a half or so for the training. Really depends how many questions and stuff like that. Anytime you guys do have questions, please stop me or write it down, and you know, we can do questions later, whatever you want. If there's something that I can't answer today or right now for you, I will, at the end of this session, contact ESO and get an answer for you. We'll make it happen. We had we had about 7 or 8 questions from 2 days, or the 2 sessions yesterday, and they've all been answered already and taken care of. It's a pretty customizable program. There's a lot of things that Michael actually turned on and turned off yesterday, and instantly changed your program for you. So it's a pretty sweet program, and I think you'll see it as we go through here. So we're going to start on the web side of things. There's 2 versions of ESO. There's a mobile version and a web side of things. The program is designed to work on a tablet or to work on a Toughbook or something like that while you're in the patient's house or whatever, in the back of the ambulance. That's what it's designed for. But we also needed a web platform to store all the information and things like that, and that's why we have the web version too. And the web version is the only way that, like, your admin people and your FTOs and stuff can make any changes to your environment, to your ESO environment. So you guys should be looking at a page that looks similar to mine, except you don't have everything on the left that I have here. This is the web side of things. Now that everybody has been logged on and we had to change a couple of passwords and things, now we're going to go ahead over to the mobile version. So if you guys will open up the mobile version, I think there's a link on your desktop, and it should look like this. Don't log in though.
Is that what we needed to do?
I've got another topic for you to take with you.
Yeah, that's why I don't have the.
Got it. You don't have the mobile app? Let's grab you one of these then.
So once you get this screen, go ahead and put your username and password, but don't log in.
I'll take that one.
Because there's something we have to do before you guys actually log into it. So a couple things on the app version that you'll see on this home screen is there's a keyboard up there at the top right-hand corner. If you were using the touchscreen function of your tablet, I know these tablets turn around and the screens lay down or whatever, and you can type it just like you would on your iPad and things like that. You would want that keyboard on so that you can actually type on the screen itself. But if you're using the actual keyboard or you're using it as a laptop, you can turn that keyboard off. If you don't turn it off and you are using the actual keyboard, that thing is going to pop up on your screen every single time you do something, and it's just going to get annoying. So if you're using the keyboard, turn it off. The next thing next to that is that circle has a couple of arrows around it. That is the update system data. So anytime that Michael or any of your other admins make any changes to your ESO environment, it's only being made on the web side of things. In order to get it to the app, the mobile side, you have to do an update system data. And what we recommend is every time you come into shift, you sign into or you pick up your laptops or however that works, first thing we want you to do is power off the laptop completely and then power it back on. That allows Windows to do any updates that Windows needs to do, because the last thing you want is halfway through your PCR, Windows to freak out because it has to do an update. So go ahead and shut Windows, shut the whole system down, reboot your laptop, and then get into ESO. And now we need to kind of reset ESO or to update any of the information that's on the web so that you can have that information on the app side of things. So if you change your password, like we just changed his password a second ago, he wouldn't be able to, if we didn't update the system data, he wouldn't be able to get on this. So we're going to have to go through and do that. If there are any protocol changes that are made on the ESO side of things, if Michael adds some things for the protocols, the only way you're going to get it on the mobile is to do this update system data. So go ahead and do that. It takes a couple of minutes. Because it's going to load everything about everybody into the system.
Mine said system data update failed.
Try it again. Get out of the app completely. And relaunch the app. Made a couple of those that did it yesterday, don't know why. Here's it doing, it's just slow.
So while he's doing that, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What, are you recommending you do that at the start of every shift?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I recommend the password's not case sensitive.
The password is case sensitive. Going. So now we can log in. And you should see this screen. So the first, that's the previous screen and this screen are the only two screens that look different between the two versions, mobile and web. There's a couple of features that are different throughout the mobile version that we don't have on the website though. So the first thing on this page is you'll notice that my name is already set up under Shift and so is yours. That's because we logged in to the system itself, to the app. So now we want to go under Set Shift. So when you come in to your shift and you get your ambulance and you pick up your tough book or however that works, go ahead and fill in the shift information. So you can put yourself and your partner in there. All of your employees are listed in your environment already. So you can pick whoever, I don't care. And then you can pick up to 4 providers on that ambulance. Now, this is not where you would add students. There is a place to add third riders and students, and we'll get to that later. But for right now, this is just your employees here. You're going to go down and assign yourself to the unit that you're in and the vehicle. And for you guys, Medic 1 is Ambulance 1 and so forth. And then set your shift, whether it's event transport or interfacility. So once I do this, I am now, my partner and I are now assigned to this tablet. We're assigned to the ambulance that is assigned to that tablet. When you guys do get the capability, and I think it's going to happen when I was talking to Michael, to upload information from your cardiac monitors, there'll be another line under Shift that allows you to sign into that monitor as well. So when you're uploading information, it's pulling from your monitor that's assigned to that ambulance. Yeah.
And that's Bluetooth? Or does
That's,
it have to be hard?
some of your monitors have Bluetooth, some of them
Okay,
don't yet. But that's up to you guys.
It's a combination of, so
Right.
depending on which vehicle you're in, we're gonna set up the tough book for that vehicle. So if it requires a cable, it's gonna have the SDK that you do the cable thing
Right.
with. If it's got Bluetooth, then it's gonna be set up for Bluetooth. But because we have a mixed fleet of monitors,
Okay.
we still need to do
But
that.
it'll be.
It's a cool function.
But it's
I'll
very
show you how
similar to the way
when
that
we
you
get
do
there.
it now. It's almost identical to the way you do it now with
Okay.
8.
All right.
Yep.
Next thing what you look at is over on the bottom right, that box where it says Status Center, and it says 0 unlocked and 0 locked records, and then it says Sync Records. We don't want anything stored on your laptops. So let's say I type a report on my laptop. I don't want to save it here. I want it to go to the web. I want it to go to the cloud. That's where we want to save all our reports. So if I were to start, when we start our report here, it's going to have one unlocked record. And then when I'm done with this report, I'm going to lock it and sync it over to the web. Once it's over to the web and off this laptop, it's gone from here. I can go to the web and take care of things if I need to. I don't even have to finish my report here. I can start it on the laptop and then, decide that, hey, I'm gonna finish this at home or however you guys do it. But I do need to sync it, so I can sync it over to the web. I can go home, pull up ESO Suite on Google Chrome and find my report and finish it there. But you can't get it back you can't go from web to mobile. Does that make sense? We don't want anything stored on here. Another nice thing is, let's say that I had a report on here and I'm done with my shift, I went home, but I forgot to finish my report or I forgot to lock my report and sync it. I can, what's your name, Robert? Bob. I can call Bob and say, hey Bob, do you mind going to Ambulance 1 and picking up the tough book, log in and just sync the reports over. He doesn't have to have my login number. Once anybody logs into that tough book, they'll see however many open or locked or unsynced reports are sitting there, and he can send them all to the web. So it's a pretty cool function. What's that? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
If we start PCR during a shift and we intend to go back and do it later, we're going to do it before the end of our shift, but we run another call back to back.
Okay.
How do we save it locally so that we can go back to it and start a new one?
It saves it automatically on here.
Okay, I thought you said we weren't saving.
Well, we don't want to store all your reports here. So at the end of your shift, our goal is, or when you're done with that report.
It's okay to save
oh yeah,
temporarily.
absolutely.
Okay.
You can save 5 reports on here, but the goal is when you leave for that shift, you go home, you need to get it all off.
So at the end of the shift, we need to get
yep,
back, but
get it all
of our reports. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So basically, at the beginning of the shift, when you log in, if you have unsynced reports, just
Push 'em.
Sync them over. Push them over to the web.
Because somebody didn't do that the night before.
Yep. And it allows that person to, even if it's locked, sync it over. If it's unlocked, you don't have access to that report. You can't see anything about what they did for that report, but you can see that there's one there.
Okay,
just get it over. They can finish it later. Michael can call them and say, hey, you need to finish this report and lock it. Fax status, you guys really aren't going to be using the fax function, so don't worry about that. And then we've got the quick links there, where it says new record and import from CAD. You guys will be using the CAD interface, so when you guys go to start a new report, you can hit import from CAD, and it's automatically going to start a new report for you and build a incident number based on the CAD information. And it'll infill all your times and demographic, or the addresses and everything like that. We don't have it right now for the training, so go ahead and hit new record.
I got a question for
Yes.
Michael. For
Yes.
Michael, actually. So if we're doing like just a patient contact at a venue where we're not actually going to do a full PCR, we're not going to have a CAD record, do you want us to do a new record and save it as a record, or do you want us to still be doing something with CAD?
If it is not a transport, then you should be using the app on your phone,
Okay.
for the contact app on your phone, and not this system.
Okay.
This system is for transports only.
Okay. Thank you.
So everybody should be looking at a screen that looks like mine. You have to kind of excuse the borders on here. For some reason, the resolution on my laptop, we couldn't get it to match up with the projector there. There's a couple of, this screen looks identical to the one on the web version now, aside from like 2 functions that I'll talk about. So you'll see that black bar up at the top where it has the unnamed patient. Because we haven't filled in a name yet, that's going to remain unnamed until we get there. But there's a little button next to it, or an arrow down, where it says new patient. So let's say that I ran a traffic accident and there's 2 patients involved. And I started this incident on John Doe, and I'm getting John Doe's information, but Jane Doe is the patient as well. I don't have to get out of this program or get out of this incident to start another incident on Jane Doe. I can just hit new patient, and what that does is it creates a new incident with all the same times for me. So then I can just go back and open up Jane Doe's information after I'm done with John Doe's information.
I like that.
It's probably the coolest function. that
So if
you'll
you're
like.
double loading, that's how you do it.
This is the coolest function I think you guys will really like. You guys do a lot with West Metro, right? Is it West Metro?
Yeah.
So West Metro has ESO. Denver Fire has ESO, Arvada has ESO, and so does South Metro. Michael's been in contact with their admins and have permission for you guys to receive and transfer patients from them on ESO, which is really cool when you're using the mobile version. So you go to meet West Metro or whatever you have that you're going to receive their patient from them. You can also receive whatever information that they have typed into ESO. They will start your report for you. So you get on scene with them and you say, hey man, what's up? Here's your patient. And it's not going to let me do it yet. Let me go in here. So we'll pull it up. So West Metro can come in here and say, hey man, here's your patient, here's all the information we have. They can hit transfer to agency. They're going to pick Stadium Medical. They can type whatever information they need and hit transfer. And they're going to say, okay, here's your patient, here's the information, all you need to know is code 2351. So you can say, thank you very much. You're going to open up your tablet, go up to these little arrows here, hit receive patient. That's the one I'm looking.
Little arrows. Mine doesn't have those little arrows.
Are you on the mobile? You're not on the mobile.
There he is.
It's on the web.
On the white one.
This is only on the mobile.
Is there a time limit that you can
Nope.
pull that info?
Nope. As long as they transfer it, and as long as you know that code. If you forget the code, it's no big deal. You can call them up, hey, can you send that again? And they're going to give you a new code.
Okay.
That's all. So there's the patient I want. I'm going to hit receive. And I type in whatever code. I don't remember what it was now.
2351.
What was it?
2351.
Hit 2351. It's going to pull in all that information there on the left, info, vitals, flowchart, and billing. I'm going to hit receive. And whatever West Metro just did on their tablet is now on my tablet.
So for Red Rocks this year, all the patients that they start will finish.
It's super nice. Pretty cool function. You also have the ability to, let's say you guys have a flight patient come, that you're waiting for flight for some reason. As long as that flight service is using ESO, and I think AirLife is, I'm not totally sure. You can say, here you go, here's your patient, here's the information on your tablet, and here's the code. They can pull it in and say, sweet, thanks. And they take off. And now that patient, or that report is now theirs. They can see everything that you did. You can't, it's no longer yours though. And they can't change, if for some reason they started a narrative, the narrative will pull over. They can't change your narrative, they can just add their narrative to the end of yours at that point. So pretty cool feature. Only available on the web, or on the mobile for obvious reasons. Again, over at the right we have that keyboard button, turn on or off. That circle with the check mark in it is your validation. At the very end of this presentation, we're going to validate our reports. And the validations are looking for errors, anything that's not filled in that's required to be filled in. ESO will not allow you to lock your report until everything is done. It won't lock it. So you're never going to be done unless it tells you that all validations are complete.
It's not letting me in on the mobile.
You can get on the website though. You need to sync first then, so put your name and password in,
You didn't do the
I did that.
update system data.
and then update system data before you click login.
The next button, I don't even know what that little symbol is, but it's like a
Top right, that
funny looking thing
circle.
next to the X, or the check mark. That is a quick look at your times. So let's say I'm halfway through my PCR and I'm like, I can't remember what time I started that IV or whatever. I don't want to go back to my time sheet to scroll down and find it. I can just hit this little quick look, a quick glance at my times, and then I can go back to whatever I was doing.
Quick question, is it gonna let us alter the times, or is it gonna automatically take dispatch times? And the few
It'll
times
take
where they're
dispatch
not
times, but if
accurate?
you need to alter them, you can alter them.
Okay.
Little hamburger menu next to it. You can print your PCR. You can add any attachments. You can add cardiac monitor files. If you're adding attachments, and we'll get to the HDE or the Health Data Exchange information, but let's say you wanted to scan and upload your face sheet from the hospital or anything else that you have, you would scan it in and just upload it like you would a file to like you're sending an email to somebody. Wherever it saved it on your computer, you're just going to add that attachment. You can also, with your tough books there, if you have a face sheet, you can take a picture of it and upload it to your EHR as well.
So when you said scan, what are you actually scanning?
I don't know if you guys scan any paperwork in that needs to be attached to your
Well,
PCR.
don't they have the scanning guns and the?
That's for the HDE barcode, that's different from paperwork.
Yep.
So
We'll
paperwork,
talk
if
about
you
that.
want to take a picture of it with your phone,
Right.
you can attach the PDF that way, or a picture of it with your laptop, you can attach the PDF that way.
Or if you have a
But,
DNR or something like that.
Yeah, but, or a DNR, or a PCS, or whatever documents you have.
When you go to the nursing home, they
Moving
give you
forward, we're
500
gonna continue
pages
to
of meds.
collect face sheets for now.
You can take pictures of 500 pages of medications that the nursing home staff gave you, and you just click, and upload it.
Yeah.
So, and then
But we'll go through the HD.
Then when you get to meds, you can just say, see attached list, or see attached picture. The red button next to that with the lightning bolt, that's called Quick Treats. We're gonna get to that in a second. That's the only available on the web or the mobile version as well. All right, so this is the beginning of your EHR, your patient care report. It's the first page. You'll notice there's 9 tabs at the top in blue, and under each of those tabs, there's gonna be a bunch of sub-tabs, if you will, on the left. The first one is your incident page. When you open up or create a new record, it automatically creates an incident number for you. ESO does that. You guys can change that incident number as long as you're not importing from CAD. If you're importing from CAD, don't change that incident number. That's a CAD number. But if you're not importing from CAD, you can change the incident number to whatever you want. And for just today's training purposes, will you put your initials after stadium? Otherwise, when we go to sync this, the system is going to freak out because everybody has the same incident number. If I wanted to import from CAD here, I can hit that CAD import button next to it, and it's going to pull in all my times for me. We do recommend that if you are using the CAD import function, that you import a couple of times during your patient care report. Once in the beginning, to let it start it for you, create the EHR. Once halfway through it to kind of update sometimes, and then once when you're done, right before you lock it. So it completely updates all your times, your clear times and your available times and things like that. Your run number, you put in whatever you want, or whatever you guys, not whatever you want, whatever you guys require, or however you do your run numbers now.
That'll get auto-populated by the CAD import.
Run type, this is going to be your 911, your medical transport, interfacility transports, and anything you don't see here, you've got a couple over here on the right you can choose from. Priority, emergent, downgraded, non-emergent, you just choose there. You do have to choose the response mode descriptors. This is something new. I chose an emergent call, so it's unscheduled. And notice as we scroll down, shift is already filled in because I did that when I logged into the computer. Same with the unit number and the vehicle number. I do it to fill in the unit's level of care. This is not the level of care that the patient is receiving. This is the highest level of care that's on that ambulance. So if it's a paramedic EMT, you're going to put paramedic here. EMT complaint. You have breathing problems, sick person, traffic accidents, and then you have a whole list here on the right. If you don't see your first 3 there, you just find it in the list. You don't have to scroll through the list. You can just hit that search button and type in the first couple letters there. So if I was looking for chest pain, it pops up. EMT performed, you're probably not going to know, unless dispatch tells you a little bit of information, or know what kind of information they say. So we'll just say yes and no. Dispatch priority, critical emergent, lower acuity, non-acute, or scheduled transfer. You just choose whichever one's appropriate for that call. Who is it requested by? You got patient, family, bystander, and then you have a list as well.
Why are patient, family, and bystanders still in the other list if they're one of the
I don't
primary?
know. No idea.
Okay.
I've got a question. First unit on scene, yes or no? Then we'll move down to our
Triage tag.
scene information. If you're using CAD, a lot of this will already be filled in for you. If you're not, you'll need to put it in yourself. If you're going to somebody's house, or a traffic accident or whatever, you would have to fill in the address tab and manually type it in. If you are going to a predefined location, you can find it in the list. A lot of your stuff has already been filled in for you. So there's all your nursing homes, they're already populated. So I'm just going to pick one for this practice one. If you guys need to fill an apartment, suite, and room, you can do so. Zone, you guys don't have to worry about. Mass casualty, yes or no. And then the triage classification. Critical, potentially unstable, walking wounded. This is your green, yellow, blacks, all that stuff. Coming down to personnel. So you notice my name and my partner's name are already on there because I assigned us to this unit, I assigned us to this tablet in the beginning. This is where you can add other crew members. Maybe, let's say my partner and I ran this call, but you know what, we need another set of hands, and Bob shows up and hey, Bob's gonna ride with us, I can add him to this patient care report. Or let's say I have a third rider, let's say I have a student from another agency or whatever. I can add them as a non-crew, type in their name, affiliation, and their role on this call. Nice thing about that is when you go to, let's say your student starts an IV, you can assign them that IV on here so it shows who started it. You get to choose the roles there. Disposition, this is how you transported your patient. So emergent, non-emergent, or lights, no sirens, lights and sirens, no lights, no sirens, whatever the case is. Transport mode descriptors. This is required by the state. And the method of transport. So you got ambulance, rotorcraft, bariatric, and then you have choices over here to the right. Transported due to, you got closest facility, you got patient's choice, protocol, and again, a list. Level of service, this is the level of service that took care of the patient. So whether it's an EMT in the back, paramedic in the back, started as an EMT, now I need a paramedic, whatever the case is. The incident page is the longest one to build. Now we're going to fill in our destination information. So most of your hospitals, I think in here, I think there was a couple that were mentioned yesterday, but I think the majority of them in here are already filled in for you. So you just go find it. But if you were taking your patient from a facility back to their house, you would need to go through the address side of things and manually type that in.
We did a dump out of CAD for most of the facilities. If you find that there's facilities, either nursing homes or hospitals or frequently visited places, like I know we're backfilling all of the venues. So Pepsi's going to be in there, Convention Center's going to be in there. But if they're not in there, just let me know, fire off a quick email, and we'll add them. And then the next time you sync, they'll be there.
That's super easy for him to add stuff. But the only way it's going to get to that mobile app is when you guys do that system data update. Otherwise, it won't show up on your mobile site. Next, we're going to add the department name that you transported to. So we'll say emergency room, and then the hospital designation. If it's a specialty center, trauma center, whatever you're going to. Again, don't have to worry about apartments or zones. So next part, the chart number. So you guys do have access, and will have access to the HDE scanners. The hospitals have them. You'll plug the scanner right into your laptop. You'll scan the barcode of either the patient's wristband or their face sheet, and it's going to fill in all of the demographic information, the billing information for that patient. It's also going to allow you guys to track your patient real time. So if you get that really cool case, you got that stroke patient, you're kind of curious on how grandma did after you dropped her off, You have the ability to go through this, I'll show you when we get back to the home page, on tracking grandma. You can see that she went from the ER to the CAT scan, to ICU, to whatever. You can track her lab values, things like that, and it's instantaneously. So as soon as it happens in the ER, you see it. Or as soon as it happens in the hospital, you see it.
Do we have to use the scanner gun, or can we use a camera on?
You have to use a scanner gun. It doesn't
Or you
matter.
can manually type it in.
Right. So a pretty cool function. So just for this practice report though, so I'm just going to make up a chart number here.
Chart numbers, the MRN.
Yes, so I'm gonna send out an email. I grabbed 3 face sheets from the 3 different SEL, Health One, and Centura. But basically, it's this barcode that you want to scan on the bottom right-hand side of the face sheet, or manually type in the CEIU number into that field.
ED disposition is just what happened to the patient after the ED was done with them, and then hospital disposition is what happened to the patient after the hospital was done with them. Again, if you're using the HDE function, it's going to automatically fill in for you. Reportable conditions, this is if you suspect abuse or something like that, you get yes or no. And request for review. Let's say you do have that cool case where you want your admin or your supervisor to look at it, read over it, or it's something that you want brought up in case review, or you want your physician advisor to take a look at it. If that's the case, you would hit yes. And what that's going to do is send an email to your admin and your FTOs and stuff like that, whoever has access to this, and say, hey, Bob had this cool case last night, he wants us to review it, let's take a look at it. And then if they decide that it needs to go to the physician advisor, then the physician advisor will get an email from them. So it's not a, yes, I want review, and immediately your physician advisor's phone starts to ring. So don't worry about, you're not totally asking for trouble here.
What about the reportable condition? Where does that go to? Or who does that notify?
State.
Okay.
That's a state requirement. Set times. For this, if we had done the CAD import, this would already be filled in for us, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. But again, we're not connected to CAD right now, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in a few times, and then I'll fill in the rest at the very end. Any delays? So if you had any dispatch delays, you're probably, again, you're not going to know that. I doubt dispatch is going to call you and say, hey, we had a 5-minute delay and giving you guys a call. But if they do, you can fill that information in. Otherwise, just hit none. Response delays, if there was any traffic, weather, construction, things like that, there's a list of things you can choose from here, or none. Scene delays, again, if you were on scene for whatever reason too long, there are some options there to choose from. Otherwise, you can choose none or no delay. Any transport delays, again, if this is weather, traffic, construction, things like that. And turnaround delays, if you were prolonged at the hospital, maybe you're waiting for a bed or whatever the case is, or waiting to give a report and you're there forever, or an extensive cleanup that you have to do in the back of your ambulance. You got a bunch of choices there to choose from. Otherwise, you can none. Mileage, you guys do bill for for your loaded mileage, and Michael's been nice enough to turn on Google Maps for you, so it'll automatically do it for you, as long as you take the route that Google Maps says you should take. If you don't take that route, the quickest route, then you should probably calculate it yourself. Otherwise, you can just say calculate mileage. And apparently something is not matching up with your address, missing address information. Something is on your, one of your addresses is off there, Michael.
Yeah, they have to, we discovered that all the addresses in the system have to have geocoding on them. Otherwise, the map doesn't work, so we're working through all of them to add the geocoding for each of those addresses. They need to have the lat long configured on them.
That's for our destination, but if we're doing like an OFA, from that OFA to whatever destination that is, it'll calculate that without the...
Yeah, because if you're seeing that, you put your scene address in as an address, even if it's just a cross street, then it's going to configure
the distance.
it's going to do the
your
distance to your destination.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I changed my destination here just so I get it to come up. So there's our loaded mileage from whatever nursing home I chose to St. Anthony's North. And then if any other additional factors were included in this, so if you had any other agencies arrive, any other responders or anything like that. So that's the incident page. Like I said, that's the longest page to build, but if you're using the CAD import, a lot of it's already done for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Next, we're going to go over to the patient tab. So this is just your normal demographic information. I use the same patient for all my trainings, Luke Skywalker. And you'll also notice that over here on the right, there is a patient import button that says if I know 2 of those 3 fields, so last name, date of birth, or social, I can import him from the last time that call was run. So let's say, because I know you guys get those patients where you run them multiple times and you see them 3 or 4 times a month or a week or whatever the case is, and you get tired of filling out all their demographics and all their billing and all their history, meds, and allergies. There's that function now, patient import, where if I'm running John Doe today and Robert ran him a week ago, and I know he, or even if I don't know he ran, I can go and check. I can punch that information in here, hit search, and it'll pull in that report. So I'll show you how that works. So I can pull in whichever incident that he was run last, and it's going to bring in, like I said, his demographic information, his billing information, history, meds, and allergies. So really all I have to do is just verify that all that's correct. So you got weight, just fill that in, and then it will convert it to kilograms for you. You hit gender, race, and ethnicity. Pediatric coding is your Broslow tape. That's what it's doing there. It's giving you the Broslow colors. So if you had a kid. Contact info. Anytime you see this UTO button, it means unable to obtain.
Oh, thanks for doing that. I really appreciate it.
So the contact information is your patient's mailing address. Wherever they get their mail is what we want here. So if you pick them up at their house, that's where they get their mail. You can just take copy scene. Otherwise, if their address is something other than the scene, you would need to type that in. And again, if you're using the HDE, that's going to be there for you. Phone numbers there, emails, all that. Driver's license if you guys require it. If not, you can leave it blank. Advanced directives, if they've got one or not. You just choose that. If you have a physical copy of it, it's what the presence of emergency form says. And then history, meds, and allergies. So we'll go up here to hit add history, and it's going to pull up everything. Now you don't have to scroll through this list to find asthma or diabetes or anything like that. You can just type in the first couple letters and they're going to come up. So I would click that, and I'm just going to pick asthma and diabetes here. And diabetes pops up. I come over here to allergies, right underneath that, and choose any allergies. And again, I can just type in the first couple letters. Which what?
How do you get to that first tab? So you get history and then you hit what?
Where it says add.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, I hit it back.
And then again, you can add your medications here. So I'm going to add a couple. See, it's got albuterol and some insulin. So when I hit OK here, it populates on that back screen there for you. And again, if I imported any of that information from the last time that this patient was run, I go would already be there. Belongings. You take something off of your patient and you want to be able to track it, especially when you get the patient has a really nice watch or whatever, you took it off of them and you're going to give it to the nurse and you want to make sure that you're able to track that what happened to it, or a box of medications, things like that. You can hit watch. I can come over here to edit details and I can type here exactly what happened to that watch, RN Smith, and I can describe the watch. Silver Citizen watch. So when, 5 months from now, when Luke Skywalker calls up Michael and says, "Hey, Chad transported me like 5 months ago, and I swear to God I left my watch in the back of your ambulance." I can say, "No, you didn't. We gave it to Nurse Smith at the hospital." So here's the color it was. Any questions with the patient's side? So I'm going to jump up to that quick treats bar real quick. So let's say that let's say Bob, I'm using Bob because I know his name. So we're on scene and I'm using the laptop, I'm talking to the patient or the patient's family, I'm getting all this demographic information. Bob's taking care of the patient and he says, "Hey Chad, I'm going to grab a quick set of vitals for me." So this red bar at the top, it basically timestamps things for you. And I can go in and edit all that information later. So he says, "Hey Chad, I'm going to take a quick blood pressure and I got 130/76. Like, sweet, appreciate it. And it's gone. It timestamped it underneath the vitals page, and we'll get there. And then let's say he's like, "Hey Chad, I'm going to go ahead and put Mr. Skywalker on some oxygen real quick." That little green bar, that little green circle means it's been timestamped. I can just hit OK. Cool, thanks, appreciate it. Now he's doing his thing, and I'm done talking to the family member, typing my report now. And I come over to the vitals page. There's where he took the vital signs or that blood pressure just a minute ago. Now I can go in and edit that, and there's actually one thing I have to fill in under the blood pressure. So I can open that up, and you'll notice that the blood pressure is there, 130/76. It calculates the map for you. I do have to fill in or choose how he took that blood pressure, whether it was manual, whether it was a palpated one. And again, you do have a list over to the side, so if you did you use the monitor function, or the automated function on the monitor, you can use that as well. And no, we cannot change the methods on that screen there as far as how they're, we can't pull manual cuff or automated cuff as one of those quick buttons. So, sorry. A lot of people ask that question. So I filled in that information, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of these vitals here, just to show you guys how it works. So up at the top here, where it says AVPU side and position, AVPU is just your alert verbal stuff. You do have to fill in one of those. Side, don't necessarily have to fill it in. This is if, if for some reason your patient said, "Hey, I can't have you take a blood pressure on this side, I need you to take it on the right side." At that point, then you can fill that in. If not, you can leave it blank. Position is not there for every time you take vital signs. This is for your near syncopal patients who you need to get orthostatics on. So if you are doing orthostatic vital signs, this is where you would use this function. If you're not doing orthostatics, just leave it blank. Again, unable to obtain there next to it. You can come over here and fill in the heart rate, the method that you took the heart rate. So you have some choices there. And you got rhythm, you have regular as your first choice, and then again you've got irregular or irregular. Strength, you got strong, weak, and you do have other options over here to the side. We go down to respirations. And again, quality, normal, labored, got options. And rhythm, regular, irregular. And we have other options, so ventilated or assisted. So that's my respirations. And you don't have to fill in all these vital signs for every time you take a vital sign. So if you're just doing a blood pressure, you can just fill in the blood pressure information. and it's going to timestamp it and fill it in chronologically for you. I'll show you where that happens here. So let's say we go over, we did a pulse ox, or yeah, let's say we took a pulse ox. And if you did end tidal CO, it would be there. Temp, if you did a temperature, you can fill it in. If not, you can leave it blank. And then how you took it, so tympanic, oral, and then all the others. And then glucose, if you did a D-stick on them, you type it there. High or low is if you have that patient whose D-stick just read high on your glucometer or just read low. You would just choose one of those and not fill in the number. Scoring is your GCS or your revised trauma stuff. If your patient is totally fine, able to function normally, you can just choose max of 15 and it'll fill it in for you. If there's something other than 15, you'll need to go under each of those and fill it in individually. And then you do have to fill in the qualifier. So no qualifier for this guy.
You pick the max and then just change one of them?
Yep. EKG, I'm going to show you how to import one here in a second, but let's say that you want to fill this information in here. You can choose your rhythm, it's all over here on the side. You can just type in the first couple letters and pick it. Method of interpretation. Manual, did you interpret the reading, or did you let the computer do it, or the monitor do it? And then there are specific notes you want to add about that rhythm. You can type in right there. And you suspect MI, yes or no. Then you got your pain scales. The even numbers are the smiley faces, and then the if your patient says, you know what, I have a pain scale 3, you can hit numeric and just choose 3. So that set of vital signs is completely filled out for me. So you'll notice at the top here we have general scoring and EKG. If I go to scoring, it's just a continuation of this screen. So it shows my GCS and the qualifier there, and then again if I hit EKG, it's another continuation. So let's say I am connected to my monitor, and I want to import that last incident, or that patient's incident, from my cardiac monitor. You choose physio control. If you're plugged directly into your monitor, you're going to choose local. If you're using Bluetooth, you choose cloud.
Are we going to be able to do that?
So I have some cases loaded on my computer, so it's going to go find them here.
The 12s are about half and half. About half of them are Bluetooth, about half of them are cabled.
I think that's great.
So there's a bunch of incidents on my laptop or my monitor that I want to try to find. So I'm just going to pick a patient. I'm choosing the patient that I want. I'll choose this guy. It's going to import it. And then it brings it all in, lists it all chronological for you. All the vital signs that the monitor took, any of the rhythms that the monitor took. So let's say I did a 12 lead. 12 lead is going to show up over here with that heart with the 12 in it. If it was a 3 lead, it would show up with a 3. And then I can look at it. And let's say, like, oops, that is not the right patient. Chose the wrong one. I can undo all that. And it'll get rid of it. And brings me back to my original screen, what I had. Pretty cool function. If you're doing another set of vitals, you just come down here to add vitals. And it'll bring up another set here, and I'll show you where that shows it, right there. So you can edit and delete it by using that little menu on the side, that hamburger menu. I'm just going to delete that because I didn't fill anything in. Any questions with vitals? So once you guys get the monitor capability, it's pretty slick. It's pretty fast. Next we go over to flowchart, and you'll see oxygen there. So at 9:52, Bob put him on oxygen for me, and I timestamped it. Now I need to go in and fill in any details about it, how much did he put him on, things like that. So I go over to the bar here, and I edit it. And then I can choose nasal cannula. I can choose 3 liters. Yep, he was pretty successful in that. And then I need to come down here and fill in this information. So any patient response, so we'll choose unchanged, no complications. And we did this because protocol allows us to, but if you did a treatment that you need to get some online medical direction, you would fill in that, you would hit online medical direction, and underneath there you would put in the physician's name. And there we go. If I come down here, I want to do another, you guys want to put here in there. If you have to do CPR on a patient, your CPR here it's a timestamp again. If I just click CPR, boom, CPR started. And I would fill in that information here. If it is a CPR patient or cardiac arrest patient, and you choose this, it's going to automatically make you fill in the CPR form, and we'll get there in a bit. Let's say I accidentally hit that though, I didn't mean to hit CPR, I can delete it. Same with IV therapy. So let's say that I'm going to start an IV. That green button or the green circle means it time-stamped it. I come over here to the fluid. This has all been filled in for you guys already, or it's already been loaded in your system. So we'll choose the site. We'll say left hand, amount of fluid that you gave. Successful, yes. And then again, you have to come down and fill in the information whether, let's say I didn't do it. Let's say my partner did it, or let's say I had a student that I had filled in earlier. That student's name would come up under here, and I could assign the student to that IV. So I would know later on who started that IV.
Can you help a computer illiterate guy?
Probably not.
How do I? Okay, now it's stopped doing it all of a sudden. Every once in a while when I get in the screen, even on our current PCR, when I go to go down, it starts scrolling instead of going up and down. How do I stop it from doing that?
You're probably getting too close to this side. A lot of computers have, you know, this bar, this arrow. Yep, it has that arrow. Yep. So this is when you go to this side, you're basically using this bar. You're basically using that bar there. Yep. Still all computer smart. And I'm not. So here, like I said, I need to put in my provider, any patient response to starting that IV, were there any complications to it, and again, med control, or was it in protocol?
Okay, we got another question. Yep. Sorry. I went to go back into that IV therapy. How do I edit one once I was saved? Because I went to go back into that one that we just accidentally scrolled out of, and it just started a new one. And now I've got
Okay, so
three
hit OK.
IVs.
Hit OK again. So delete those. Okay. And then you can go to the one you want to edit and just edit it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Your meds are listed here under medications, but real quick, up at the top here on your quick treats, some of your meds are listed. You're not going to have all of them. We're only allowed 20 on this list. And so it'd be the most common that you use. So let's say we were on scene, and Bob's like, hey man, I'm going to give him aspirin real quick. Sweet, thanks Bob. I'm just going to hit aspirin, it timestamps it, and it puts it there. Or I could go down here under medications, go find aspirin, and it's already there because I did it on the quick treats. But this list, so the list at the bottom here in the green tab has all your medications. The one at the top is going to have the 20 most common that you're going to use, that you're going to want to use as a timestamp. So I do need to go in and fill in any information about the aspirin that Bob just gave. So we're going to hit edit, and we'll say Bob gave him 320, not that much, 324 milligrams of aspirin. You'll notice that milligrams is already filled in for you. It does not allow you to choose anything else because that's how milligrams is measured. Michael's gone in and filled in I think all of your drugs are now done. He's gone through all your drugs, and the unit that it's measured in is done, and the route or routes that you're allowed to give that medication is also populated. So the only way we give, you guys have oral and buccal, but oral pops up first. That's the most common way of giving it. That's it. And again, I do have to fill out the information down the bottom. So we'll say unchanged, no complications. again, protocol. So that's the flow chart. You can add all kinds of stuff. Whatever you did to your patient, that's where it's going to show up. So that's your treatment portion of your EHR. Everybody doing good? Anybody need a 5-minute break? It's a good time to break if we need to. Cool. You guys are off it. We're getting close to done. The rest is quick. Next is your assessments. This is your head-to-toe exam. It has initial exam, so when you first meet the patient, and then your ongoing exam, so as you're cruising to the hospital. So I'm going to need to start a time here for that. Now real quick, you'll notice a couple of things over here to the right. There's 2 tabs. There's quick acts and anatomical. We'll choose the quick acts. I'm going to talk about it. I'm not a real big fan of quick acts, and for the reason I'm not is that first sentence. If no abnormalities is selected, all listed abnormalities for the category were assessed for and found not to be present. So that means you did a 100% complete, absolute, perfect head-to-toe exam, or that portion of the body or whatever, and you just chose no abnormalities. Be really careful choosing that. That's all I can say. If you're into choosing no abnormalities, totally fine, but just be careful doing it. Anatomical just brings up a mannequin or a model there. It does have female, child, and infant as well. And you can rotate the mannequin around either by using the buttons on the side or just click anywhere on the gray and move your mouse around. Cool thing about this is if you have a multi-systems trauma patient or something like that, and you need to quickly put in a bunch of injuries or something. So let's say that this gentleman here fell off his bike, and he broke his humerus, and we got a broken radius there, and let's say he's got a pretty good bleed going on there. So if you'll notice now, I hit OK and come down to extremities. It's filled it in for me. I can also get rid of it. So let's say, that was wrong. He did not fall off his bike and get an injury. I can delete these injuries. And when I delete them from the mannequin, it does delete it from the your assessment page as well. Oops. Your assessment page as well. So I'm going to go through like the first 3 tabs here. I'm not going to go through the whole head to toe. So mental status, if you got that patient who does have no abnormalities, so they're alert and orient ×4, everything's going good, you can choose no abnormalities. If it's something else, you can choose one of the buttons down below. Patient's alert and oriented ×4, and again, if there's something else, you can choose if it's negative or positive on below. And if there's anything that's not, not perfect on your patient, you can choose. You can type any comments you want about that down at the bottom. Same with skin. And pink won't dry, no abnormalities, not assessed, whatever. And again, you do have choices down here under your comments. Head, ears, eyes, nose, and throat. All pretty easy. Just clicking buttons. You can choose pupil size. Just click on the pupil and it'll bring up the numbers. Now if I hit OK, I filled in all that information on my assessments for me. And again, that's just the initial. If I did an ongoing, I would click on that ongoing tab, and it looks identical to this. I would just have to fill in the information for that ongoing assessment. Any questions with that tab? Now to the narrative. First thing it brings up is your clinical impression. So, whole list of things going here. You can just type in first couple letters and find it. If you have a secondary impression, you can do that as well. And body system that is pertaining to, a global general, musculoskeletal, cardiovascular, and your list. medical trauma, or both? Any supporting signs and symptoms that you want to add to that? Just general symptoms, support that with fever. Now we get down to the patient complaint. This is what they tell you. So if you're used to putting things in quotes, patient states, "I don't feel well." Just like that. How long you been feeling this way, sir? I'll say about 4 days. And if you had a secondary complaint, you can fill that information in there. If not, just leave a blank. Patient activity. Was he doing something when this all started? Just put activity unspecified. We don't know what's happening. Patient's level of distress, mild, moderate, severe, or none. Just choose mild. And the anatomic location. Was the patient injured? So you do need to choose something, yes or no. This is medical, so we're going no. Any factors that affected your patient care? So unconscious, there were no factors or anything other, so physically impaired, restrained, things like that are all listed. Language barriers. Alcohol, drugs, none. And pregnancy, yes or no. If you accidentally choose yes and it's a male patient, it's not going to validate, it's going to give you an error at the end. It's going to tell you that either you hit the wrong button or your patient needs to be changed. One of those two. And if it is a pregnancy, it's also going, and you choose yes, it's also going to make you fill in the forms, the OB form. It's going to automatically open. That's a state requirement. Patient transport, this is how they got to the ambulance and they got from the ambulance and into the hospital. So we're going to say that he went to the ambulance via stretcher, but you do have other options over here as well. How to get from the ambulance into the hospital, we'll choose stretcher. Patient positioning during transport, semi-valvular supine sitting, and you do have others. And how was your the patient at destination? Was it improved, worse, or unchanged? Now we get to the narrative. So now we're where you get to your narrative. Do you guys do SOAP? Do you guys do chart? Do you guys do a mix?
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Who does SOAP? Who does SOAP? Nobody?
Soap is horrible.
Terrible. Okay, whatever. Anyway, if you'll think about it, we've kind of done the whole narrative already. Aside from your subjective information, you know, the patient states, bystander states, whatever, everything else is done. You know, we've done our objective information, so our head-to-toe exam is complete, because that's on our assessment. We've done our impression or our assessment portion at the very top of this page, where we typed in clinical impression, what we thought was going on with our patient. And we've done our treatment under the flow chart. So it's kind of all done already, aside from your subjective. Now, we're not trying to tell you or make you guys or tell you guys you have to redo how you do your narratives. That's not what we want at all. If you want to still type a full narrative like you're used to doing now, go for it. We're just telling you that all that information's already been filled in for you as well. You can also import from Microsoft Word. So if you have a template on Microsoft Word that you really like, and you just import it on all your PCRs and you edit the details, you can do that here. You can just cut and paste straight from Microsoft Word. The dictionary in ESO is Microsoft Word's dictionary, so it does have spell checker. You do have to type something here. You can't just leave this blank. So, let's say I spelled narrative wrong here. It knows it, puts a little red underline there, and just like Microsoft Word, you come over to it, you right-click on it, and it brings up the correct spelling. Nice thing is, you cannot change the dictionary in ESO like you can in Microsoft Word. So if I swear to God that narrative is spelled with one word and Bob comes, man, I changed the dictionary, and Bob comes back and goes, man, who the heck thinks narrative is spelled like, with one word, or with one R? I can't change it. I can change it in Microsoft Word, but I can't change it in ESO, so you don't have to worry about your employees changing the dictionary who can't spell. The only thing it doesn't recognize is if you're one of those people that types in all caps. If you type in all caps and you misspell something, it recognizes all caps as an abbreviation. So it won't pick up a misspelled word if everything's capitalized. Not many people do. You had one person in last night's class who types in all caps. So not many people do it. What's that?
Do we have to add a medical dictionary to it?
No, it's just Microsoft Words.
All of our meds and procedures and all are going to come up as spelled?
Yep. But if you type it in Microsoft Word and bring it in, you can change that dictionary. Next we come into forms. This is all state requirement stuff. So if one of these pertain to your patient, so if you had a stroke patient, you would have to fill in the form. As an OB patient, there's your OB form. It also has APGAR 1 and 5 minute for you. Like I said, these are all state required forms here. Your CPR form, who paramedics in here? So most of you, about half of you. So this is where if you do have a cardiac arrest, and obviously you guys know now your cardiac arrest paperwork takes a little bit longer than any other patient care report that you do. Same with this one, and it's because of this form right here. That's a state requirement that we have to have in there. So this form takes a little bit to fill out. Your billing, you guys do bill for loaded miles and service. So again, if you're using the HDE, or the health data exchange at the hospital and the scanner, all this information is going to be filled out for you as long as that patient gave them the insurance information. If you're manually putting it in, pretty simple to do. Your insurance companies are all listed here. I'm just going to make up stuff as I go through. Secondary insurance if they have it, if not, leave it blank. Contact for payment is who holds the insurance policy. So if your patient holds the insurance policy, you can hit self and it'll populate all that information. If somebody else holds the insurance policy, you'll have to fill all that information in yourself. But again, if you're using the HDE, it's already done.
Now, if we don't have any of that information, we'll still.
You're unable to obtain at the top.
Okay, got it.
Yep. Dispatch nature, this is required by all insurance companies. So dispatch send us to a sick person on this guy. Immediate or not immediate. VLS, ALS 1 or ALS 2.
Does everybody understand ALS 1 and ALS 2?
No. So that you're on the monitor or not?
Nope.
No, that's whether you do 2 advanced, isn't it 2, Mike?
ALS 2 is any of 5 advanced procedures. If you intubate, if you cric, if you start CPR, if you vent the chest, or if you give them polypharm for more than 2 classifications. So giving somebody 2 nitros is not ALS 2, but giving somebody nitro and albuterol is ALS 2.
So make sure you're choosing the right one.
ALS 2 is a higher level of care than ALS 1?
ALS 2 is a higher level of care that we get reimbursed greater for. That is correct. But it's really those 5 things. Doesn't happen too often, but if you have a critical patient, like I said, vent patients on ALS 2, if we have them on our vent, but tubing, criking, venting a chest, cardiac arrest, CPR, or polypharm
Synchronized cardio.
are kind of the, yeah.
Be really careful when you're choosing those. Make sure that you actually are choosing the right one, because if insurance sees ALS 2 and then they go and read your report, it doesn't match up with the findings of ALS 2, they're gonna audit that report.
So it'll let you pick whatever you want.
It'll let you pick
even
whatever,
though you
yep.
can't. Okay.
Yep. But the insurance companies are gonna review it.
Right.
And then they're gonna call Michael and say, something's up with this isn't right, or, you know, it's just gonna prolong the payment on it. Medical necessity, again, this is an insurance requirement. So just pick whatever's, you know, appropriate for that patient. You guys do a lot of inter-facilities, so this is going to be key for you guys, this section, transport. This is your PCS stuff. All that information does need to be filled out here. And you can also attach your PCS as an attachment, but you still have to manually go in and fill that information out. If it's not an inter-facility, just leave it blank. Work-related, this is where if they need to get in contact with workman's comp or something like that, if it is work-related, you do need to put the employer's name and all that information. Otherwise, you can choose no. Next of kin, if you can get next of kin, great. If not, you don't have to fill in anything. You can leave it blank. You guys don't track consumables, but if you ever start tracking consumables, this is where it would be, and you would choose add consumables here, and then your whole inventory would basically show up here. And that's kind of what it's for. It's not really for billing necessary. Some of it is for billing, but a lot of it is for inventory purposes. About half the agencies would really use consumables. Next, we come up to the signatures page. The first three at the top there are your billing signatures. You have to have one of those signatures or one of those forms filled out, but not all three, so one of them has to be done. So if you have the patient who can sign for their giving you guys authorization to bill their insurance company, this is the one. This is your form, so it should look familiar. So we'll say yes. If it's a minor and the patient's parent is going to sign, they do need to type their name in here, where it says parent full name, and then whether your patient or the parent is signing, they sign here. If for some reason your patient just signs with an X, you'll probably need a witness to sign, and that's where they would sign underneath here. Otherwise, that would be, the billing signature would be done. Now the next one, section 2, is if you have a patient who is mentally or physically unable to sign for their billing information, you can have either a guardian or the medical power of attorney or something like that sign here. And if you have a patient who cannot sign for themselves, there's nobody to sign for them, then this is the sheet, the section 3 is the one where you guys sign, and the receiving facility has to sign as well. So EMS personnel would sign here, and you scroll down, and your facility representative would sign there. So one of those 3 forms has to be done in order for you guys to get paid. Otherwise, billing insurance is going to kick it back. The next 3 signature forms there are your standard signature forms. So the first one is you signing the PCR. So I was the provider, so I choose my name, and I can sign it. You guys don't require both personnel on the ambulance to sign, so you don't have to worry about the second provider there. Facility signature. You guys are required to get signatures at the facility saying that you dropped your patient off. And if you're dropping off a bunch of paperwork, stuff that you want acknowledgement for that they received it, so later on they can't come back and say, well, we never got it. And you guys can pull it up and say, yeah, you did, because RN Smith signed for it. That's there. Airway confirmations, you guys don't require that, but if you did have a patient that you intubated and took to the hospital, and this would be where the doc would sign that yes, this was a good too. Doc would sign their name here, but you guys don't require it, so don't worry about it. Refusal, standard refusal there. And the last one there is controlled substances. You guys have a different app, I guess, you use to track your controls and your witness waste. So you don't have to worry about the controlled substances signature form on this system, because you guys have something different. If that ever changes, your form would be, your signatures, or your waste signatures would go under the custom documents there.
Michael, you said we're doing transports only on this, so we're not gonna do refusals on here?
Well, and I should clarify that. So if you are on a transport ambulance and are running a refusal, like an OLFA, where the person, you feel the person needs to go and the person doesn't want to go, then you should do a full patient care report. If it's just a contact where you're providing, you know, wound care or aspirin or whatever, and both you and the patient agree that there's no need for them to go, then the contact form is just fine.
Any questions so far?
This is
Yeah.
for Michael. The events payment, what is it? I can't remember what it's called. Where insurance may not pay for it, so they're acknowledging that we may.
The ABN.
ABN.
We will add an ABN custom signature. There's places to add custom signatures. I haven't done that yet. I'll put that down so that there's an ABN.
Okay, ABN, yeah.
So any questions so far? The report's done, and we hope it's done. So now we go back up to that top bar, to that check mark with a circle around it. This is my validations. It's going to come up with some errors because I didn't finish my times. So it's looking for any errors that I need to fix. So there are the 3 errors that I need to fix. Nice thing is, you know, if there have been a bunch of errors on here, different sections of my PCR, I don't have to worry about going, man, I don't remember what tab or wherever that tab is to go find it. All you got to do is click on the red bar and it'll take you right to the error that you need to fix. So it brings up that time. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in all 3 of those times, my last times there, my last 4 times, and we'll validate it again. So now I fixed my times, I fixed my validation issues. This should come up as 0. Cool. So no validations are done or concerned now. So now I can lock my report, and it's done. Once I lock it on the mobile side, it doesn't automatically go to the web. It doesn't automatically go to the cloud. Remember, you have to actually sync it as well. So I'm going to lock it real quick. And that red padlock up at the top, kind of confirms that you're done with this report. So now I can go back home, and you'll see down in the bottom right-hand corner I have 0 unlocked reports and 1 locked report stored on my tablet or on my laptop. I want to get it off of the laptop and sent to the cloud. And the way I do that is just hit sync. You choose whichever one. If there's a whole list of them there, you choose whatever one you want to sync, or all of them. And it's sent. So it is gone off the tablet. I can't get it back from the web. I can't go back to the app version of this ESO and get my report back. But I can go to the website. So I'm going to close, or just minimize this. I'm going to go to the web version now, and I'm going to log back in. So you notice it automatically logged me out. ESO has an automatic 15-minute HIPAA timeout warning, or HIPAA timeout. So after 15 minutes of no activity, it's going to log you out. You don't lose anything. Every time you change a line in ESO, it saves. So I go from blood pressure to pulse. It saved it every time. So you're not losing, you know, a whole report. If you're halfway through your narrative and it logged you out, you're not going to go, oh crap. You're fine. It's still there. So now I go back into the website, and I'll show you where it goes. Maybe. So all those reports there, I'm on your admin right now, so I can see everything that you guys have done or are doing. And I don't want to scroll through here to find it. What I can do is go to all records and come down to just mine. And there are my records there. So you see the one at the top is the one I just finished and locked. Now, over here on the right, you guys should only see print, correct? Somebody pull it up? Oh, you're still, you got a lot of validation errors there.
Then fill them out.
You guys should only have the access to print here. Your admin has the rest of what you're seeing on my screen. We don't, and the reason is we don't want all your end users or everybody being able to lock and unlock and delete, or I'm sorry, unlock and delete reports and things like that, edit things. Once your report is locked, you can't change it. You can do an addendum to your narrative. So if you lock your report and you're like, oh man, I forgot to put this in the narrative, you can go back into your report, even though it's locked, go to your narrative, and there'll be a section under there, it'll say add addendum. And you just start typing and save, and it saves it. So you don't have to worry about that. But you can never unlock it. The only people that can unlock your reports are going to be your admin. So if for some reason you need something unlocked, you need to call Michael or whoever else he assigns to the admin side to unlock it. But there really shouldn't be a reason to unlock a report. You can also print from yours, and I'll show you what it looks like. So your PCR that you just did, when it gets sent to the hospital or your physician advisor prints it or whatever, this is what it's going to look like. It's a pretty detailed patient care report. That's what they're getting. So it's got the patient information and clinical impression stuff at the top there. You can scroll down. Meds, history, and allergies are next. My vital signs, I only took one set, so it's showing there, but if I had taken 10 sets of vitals, or if I had that cardiac monitor import, would have like 27 incidents, all those would be listed there. EKG times and stuff. Flow chart, so all my treatment is there. My initial assessment is here, and if I had done an ongoing assessment, it would come underneath the initial assessment. My narrative, and if I had typed a full chart, it would show up there. Any details about destination and incident are next. Crew members, insurance information, any delays in your mileage are calculated there. Personal items are next. Details about transport, and then transfer. And then the last one, your refusal form shows up there. So if you did a refusal and you signed it, it'll show there. Questions? Pretty simple. Yep.
Can you get the mobile version on like a personal tablet?
So you can't. That's a lot of it's up to Michael, and a lot of it's up to what type of tablet you're using. If you're using an iPad, no. Okay. Apple does not like, is really picky on different systems and stuff. But if you're using like a Galaxy or Samsung, whatever they are, Michael would have to go in under his admin side to do it. But you can use the web version from your tablet. I mean, you can do it from your phone. Okay. I can log into Safari on my iPhone. I can get into ESO and do a whole patient care report on here. I've done it. It's a pain, but you can do it. Cool. But really the only place that I think Michael really makes sense, the only place he's going to want that mobile version is on these things here. So any of the company stuff, I would imagine. I don't know what you're going to do. But pretty simple system to use. You know, you guys go live in 2 weeks, so March 4th I think is when you guys go live with this, so plenty of time to practice. Some people have been practicing before this class already, which is great. There are a few things, a few reports that we recommend that you guys write before March 4th. There's actually 5 of them. If you guys could do a medical report, a trauma report, a cardiac arrest, a refusal, and a transfer of care. If you do all 5 of those before March 4th, you will have seen everything ESO does. And don't worry about saving all this practice stuff that gets saved right now. Come March 4th, when you guys go live, ESO will actually wipe that out. So you'll start from a clean slate. There'll be no open reports and unlock nonsense showing up under your username. So March 4th, everything goes live and everything gets deleted. But yeah, if you write 5 of those between now and then, you will have seen everything that this program does for you. And then once you get a little more proficient in it, you should, most of your, I would say the majority of your transports or your PCRs, you'll have done in about 20 minutes, aside from a cardiac arrest. So.
And the link to the the link to the web version of it is up on the Stadium Medical website, next to where everything else was. So if you can't remember the URL or whatever, you just go to stadiummedical.com, go to the employee section, and that's where the URL to the ESO suite is.
Yep. And it's also just esosuite.net. So if you just bring it up on your phone, don't want to go to the site on it, whatever the case is, that's what it is. So. Like I said, I've been using this since 2011. We were one of the first users on it, and man, it was, when we first got it, we were like, oh man, something new, something different. And within like a week, we were like, man, this thing is awesome. This is pretty sweet. Cool? Right on.
Any questions for me, or?
If you guys come up with questions, don't know where something is, want something changed, or can we change it, write it down, get it to Michael. There's a lot of things that he can change and edit on the admin side. So if like all the admin are under agreement, or all the FTOs and the admin are under agreement that, yeah, we need to fix this or need to add this, he can fix it right away. If there's something he can't fix, he can either get in touch with ESO tech support or myself, and we'll get it taken care of. And we get questions done, answered pretty quick. There was like 3 questions that came up yesterday, or a bunch of questions that came up yesterday, and they're already taken care of. So, sound good?
Finally, if you didn't get your name on the roster, please get your name on the roster. Councilor Dennis, look under exempt. I'll double check, but
This is asking for update.
I'll double check and make sure it's there. Thanks.
Asking for an update. Yeah.
That's fine.
You can add past medical conditions and stuff.